It's baffled scholars for 2 millennia. It is a puzzle made of multi-dimensional elements, an enigma with roots that reach back to the dawning of time, perhaps before. Daniel explained part of it. Ezekiel and Isaiah had glimpses into it. John saw it all for the time of the end. That time is now. Join Derek and Sharon Gilbert on a journey that spans the course of history, from Eden to Mount Hermon, from Hermon to Babel, from Babel to Rome, from Rome to the cross, and from there to us. Biblical prophecy is coming true before your eyes, and to understand it, you must discern the times both then and now. It's time to unravel the threads of this all-encompassing prophetic paradox. It's time to unravel Revelation.
Welcome to Unraveling Revelation. I'm Derek Gilbert.
I'm Sharon Gilbert, and it's 2025, and a whole lot of things have changed.
Absolutely. We're back. We've been away for a couple of months. If you've been watching the programs we've released over the last couple of months, you know that we've been, I guess, recuperating, but and showing programs that have been previously aired that we thought were still relevant. But we are back, and we'll talk a little bit about why we took the time away, what we see coming in 2025, and just concerns that some people may have about the way things are developing here in the United States.
I think so. There are lots of things to talk about. Before we get to any of those, we want to remind you, please download our app.
Yes, it is absolutely free. It bypasses the gatekeepers of big tech, brings all of our video and audio content. It's like 4.5 hours a week right into your smartphone or tablet, iOS, Android, Amazon, Kindle Fire. But also, we've got versions for Roku, Amazon Fire TV. So if you got a Fire Stick or a Roku box or a smart TV preloaded with those platforms, or Apple TV, you can bring our programs right to your big screen. Again, all of those are free. You can find them at unravelingrevelation.tv or gilberthouse.org, which is our main website, gilberthouse.org/app.
You can always go to gilberthouse.org. There's so much stuff there. And we want to remind you also that the store at gilberthouse.org will no longer ship things from us.
Yes.
We're going to link to other places.
Yes, we have essentially realized that
we don't have time or energy.
Yeah, 2025, boy, our calendar is filled up in a real hurry.
And 2026 is filling up.
Is 2026. We've already got items on the books for 2026. So rather than spending hours per day, and we truly appreciate those of you who ordered things directly from our store here in the barn, we will redirect. All of our books are available at Amazon. Many of them are now available as Audible audiobooks. They're all available as Kindle ebooks as well. But we do have, and you've got your armored sheep.
My armored sheep. It's my super shirt.
Yes.
Armored sheep shirt. You can get that from Light Hive Creations. You can get GHTV, Gilbert House TV. You can also get. We don't have VFTV yet. We have PID Radio.
PID Radio, but you can get mugs, you can get T-shirts, you can get sweatshirts, you can get caps, and those ship directly from Light Hive Creations. So gilberthouse.org/store is still a valid link, but as far as the books and the DVDs that we were shipping from here, those we will redirect to other locations where you can get those.
We're getting older.
Yeah, our streaming video site. Get instant access on the video content. You can go right to our website there, gilberthouse.org/video. And you can rent video presentations, our travel documentaries for as little as $3.
Yeah, it's crazy. And we'll have deals there once in a while. So please go to gilberthouse.org and see what's going on there. We will be linking also to wonderful food that you can get that is shelf stable and, well, it's healthy, clean food.
Yes, and we support what Chance Gibson and the team at Simply Clean Foods do. So we're happy to direct you their way and support the work that they're doing, because not only is it's actually very tasty and again, non-GMO.
I have to tell you a story. Now, 2025 is going to bring a whole lot of things, but of course we're going to talk about President Trump here in a minute and his vision for America going forward. But he drinks, what is it, like
a dozen Diet
Cokes every day. Now, we don't recommend that. I'm not really sure how he gets by with doing that, because there are a lot of downsides to drinking artificial sweeteners, and drinking carbonated beverages that often every day, and who knows what all dyes and things like that are in Coke. So I would love to know what RFK Jr. thinks about that.
Yeah.
But I think that is something we all need to take a look at, and it gets back to this simply clean foods. I think Derek and I are getting older. We're finding that things are creeping in. He's having some issues with his feet, hence the cane. I've got things going on with my eyes. They're getting better. Thanks for your prayers. Now I'm starting to get arthritis in both my hands. So as we age, we need to eat as well and high nutritionally as we possibly can. So, President Trump, hats off to you, buddy, but look,
he's a genetic anomaly.
I think
if he's able to process that stuff at age 78 and still as much energy as he does, because I will tell you, and again, this gets back to why we showed previously aired or previously released programs for the last 2 months. Part of the reason for the cane is because over the last 2 years, really, beginning when I really started noticing it was during our Israel tour in 2023. I began noticing neuropathy in my feet, some real discomfort. I mean, I told Sharon, I feel like my toes are being stabbed.
Yeah, if you've got it, this is not uncommon, pins and needles in your feet and legs. That's what started, and then it just got to numbness, and you can't really feel the floor, and now your feet drop.
Right. This is, again, not unusual for older people. If you've had knee replacement surgery, this can often affect it because the perineal nerve that runs along the outside of your leg that connects to the fronts of your, the muscles on the fronts of your shins and your feet can be damaged or severed, and so suddenly you can't raise the front of your feet. So when you walk, you feel like you're walking in scuba flippers, and that's kind of where I'm at right now.
And because you're on Plavix after having surgery last November.
Would be a bad idea.
Yeah.
Falling would be a bad idea. So because you can't compensate for changes in your center of gravity very well, the balance now becomes an issue, and that's why I've got the cane. Got a new one coming today with like a quad cane with 4 feet on it.
I know. I tried to get him to get that originally. I thought, I don't know.
Yeah, it's an old guy cane, and now I'm like, I don't care. I don't want to fall.
I don't care if I look like an old lady. I really don't. In fact, you'll notice I'm not wearing makeup. It's because of my eyes, and I've just gotten to the point where I'm like, I'm not going to wear it anymore.
Yeah. Well, the eye thing is something else again. Now, yesterday, thankfully, you found a very wonderful optometrist.
I like him a lot.
And Sharon, having worked as an adult at the School of Optometry at Indiana University, as an older student, has some frame of reference for determining a good optometrist. And so she recommended the gentleman I called. And just so happened, when I called yesterday to make an appointment, they had an immediate opening because someone had canceled. So I went in yesterday because I've gotten, over the last couple of years, and I just realized yesterday, it came on about the same time as the issue with my feet, the neuropathy. When I get fatigued, I start seeing double. Which, at a conference, suddenly you've got twice as many people out there listening to you, which is
driving.
But when you're driving, that's problematic, right? And I wouldn't have wanted to drive had I expected double vision on the way to the optometrist yesterday, but it came on. So I was actually able to explain and say, yes, the eye chart you're showing me is like this right now. And so he's able to correct that. So I've got new glasses coming that will correct the double vision issue, which is, again,
it's big.
Yeah.
It's big. For instance, we've been asked to go to various places, and because of my eye issues, I don't like to drive for long distances because my eye gets really fatigued and my vision my eyes get mad at each other. And you, because of your double vision. And so we're like, okay, we need a driver.
So anyway, we didn't intend to spend the first 5 minutes of the program just talking, or whatever it is, 8 minutes of the program talking about our medical issues. But I guess as you get older, that's a thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been to reunions, and all we talk about now is our various surgeries.
When you're young, that's really boring. And now that it's, hey, this is my life. Yeah, this is really important.
But we want to follow the Lord. And 2025 is bringing Derek and me a whole lot of opportunities to do that, not just through books, through programs like these, but also speaking at conferences.
Yeah.
That's why I said 2025 is filling up very quickly. And it is changing, hence our mention of President Donald Trump. And many of you have started asking us if we are concerned about a phrase he and many around him have been using called the new golden age.
Yeah. There were a couple of things, actually. That is one, and of course we'll talk about the Bible issue here in just a bit. But the Golden Age is a phrase that goes back to, well, actually two sources.
Well, before you even get into that, because that's going to take us a while, I just want to remind everybody, he didn't just recently start talking about that. President Trump tweeted that in 2020.
Yeah, yeah.
When we came to the end of the COVID lockdown, according to what he'd been told, he said, now we're going to open things up and it's going to be a golden age here in America.
Yeah. And that is a term that goes back to, I think, the fourth eclogue by Virgil.
And it goes back to Plato. I mean, it's been around for a long time.
It goes back to Hesiod.
Yes, yes. And many, just about every culture has a reference to the time when everything was perfect, the golden age.
Hesiod was a Greek poet who was roughly contemporary with prophets like Isaiah and Jeremiah. So 7th or 6th century BC. Maybe there's some who place him as early as the 8th century BC. Nobody knows exactly when, but somewhere around there. But works, writings by Hesiod, like Theogony, or is it Theogony?
Theogony.
Theogony? Okay, I was right the first time. And Works and Days is where we get a lot of what we know about Greek religion in the classical era. In other words, we were taught as mythology, which was Greek religion. Zeus and the Olympians, Kronos and the Titans, and so forth. And Hesiod wrote of 4 ages of men, with a golden age when Kronos ruled in heaven before he was overthrown by Zeus and the Titans, or Zeus and the Olympians, rather. And that was followed by a silver age where things were still pretty good, but the children of that age were kind of indolent, lazy.
And they didn't live as long.
They didn't live as long. They stayed in their parents' homes for 100 years before they went out on their own. And then there was, followed that, a Bronze Age, which was ruled over by warlike men, and that was brutal and bloody and violent. And then finally the Iron Age, where the gods really make life difficult for us.
Right.
And this echoes really the 4 metals in the dream that Nebuchadnezzar had of the statue.
And that is exactly why the Lord used that vision.
Yeah.
Because everybody knew
Right.
that history of those ages.
Right. And
Anybody
Daniel
who read, and yes, the prophets read books.
They did, yes. The late Dr. Michael Heiser used to make that point. Guess what? The prophets read books. They knew what their neighbors believed. Daniel was 6th century BC, so he would have been maybe a century or so after Hesiod. And contrary to what many of us believe, and I think it's only because we really haven't been taught, that there was a lot of interaction between the Aegean world, in other words, the world of the Greeks or the Proto-Greeks, and the land of Canaan, and later the land of Israel. The Hivites or Hivites, Hivits, in the book of Genesis, book of Deuteronomy. Joshua did battle with the Hivites at the base of Mount Hermon. Those were Proto-Greeks. And this has been etymologically established by scholars. So the Mycenaean Greeks of the Iliad, which dates to about the 13th century BC, the War of Troy, the fall of Troy, was in the 13th century BC, part of the Bronze Age collapse. So the Proto-Greeks, what became the Mycenaean Greeks, were in Canaan when Moses and the Israelites got there. So it shouldn't be a surprise to us that the Greeks and the Canaanites shared a lot of religious ideas. Baal of the Canaanites is just Zeus of the Greeks. So this idea that Daniel had of these 4 metals in that statue and how he interpreted them was not copied from the Greeks. You know, secular scholars might say, well, you know, Daniel just took this idea and adapted it from the...
No.
It was the Holy Spirit leading Daniel to put this down. It's like, here's what this actually means.
Well, and for Nebuchadnezzar to have that dream.
For Nebuchadnezzar to have the dream, correct, yes. So that is what is intended by the Golden Age, at least from a New Age or pagan perspective. And we dove into that quite extensively in our new book, The Gates of Hell.
We did. Virgil's Eclogue 4 has a part of it that references the idea of the Golden Age returning. and the gods coming down again. Now, I believe that he was writing through an inspiration of the fallen realm, telling the world that Kronos was coming back.
Right. And I think this has been captured in the art and architecture of the United States Capitol.
Oh, yeah, which is in the gates of hell.
Exactly. And we'll talk about that and kind of explain what we mean by all of that when we come back.
Yep.
Thousands of years ago, giants walked the earth. They are long gone, but their spirits remain. The evidence is there for those with eyes to see. Megalithic tombs, monuments aligned with the stars, and the words of the prophets and apostles recorded in Scripture. Now, see this evidence for yourself as Derek and Sharon Gilbert take you on a tour of the Holy Land with special guests Pastor Carl Gallups and Messianic Rabbi Zev Porat. From the mountain where the story began to the mountain where it all ends. Wars of the Gods, Volume 2, Search for the Rephaim. Available now in DVD and HD streaming video. Online at gilberthouse.org.
Welcome back to Unraveling Revelation. I'm Derek Gilbert.
I'm Sharon Gilbert, and we want to remind you that we are still going back to Israel. We're going in October of this year, 2025. This is one of those prophetic years that Tom Horn talked about. Josh Peck has talked about.
Yeah.
So many, Ken Johnson, we've talked about it.
Right.
This is a year that I believe, really kicks off a lot of things prophetically. So what better time to go to Israel?
We'll be there beginning October 19th, which is the week after the conclusion of the Feast of Tabernacles, Sukkot, October 19th through 30th, with an optional 3-day extension to Jordan. And this, I think, as you say, will be a very timely year, because if Ken and Josh Peck and their research on the Essenes calendar, 2025 being the beginning of the final 50-year Jubilee, what better time to go? And now that we've got, as of this recording, the ceasefire holding in the north with Hezbollah, but things quieting down at least with Hamas in Gaza, and we pray that that continues. Now, if by some chance things get kinetic again and we have to reschedule, as we've had to do 3 times already,
We'll do it again.
And the folks at Lipkin Tours, sadly, because of the lockdowns previously during the pandemic, they've had to accommodate this. And if the new dates don't work for you, they will refund your deposits. So you're at no risk. Reserve your place. Go to gilberthouse.org/travel, gilberthouse.org/travel. Latest information will always be there, and that links to the Lipkin Tours website.
And while you're there, you will notice that the tour guides, your hosts, are the Gilberts. At this point, the others who are going to go with us, the Iron and Myth guys, they cannot go in October because of other commitments. So we have asked them if they could join us in 2026. So they have said yes, depending upon the dates. So we're working that out right now.
Right. So we'll have dates as soon as we get those. Those will be posted again to the website at gilberthouse.org/travel.
I think this October tour, though, it's going to be a little bit smaller, probably just one bus. So it's a great time to go and just really be part of a new family.
Yeah, we did a small tour, what we called our Solidarity Mission this past spring, and it was just a small group, just 9 of us, and we've all become very good friends. Gosh. We still communicate through a Telegram channel, and you get to spend a lot of time with one another, getting to know one another and getting to know us, and we get to know you. So if this is a smaller group, as it appears at this point anyway, then this would be a great time to go, because you'll be on our bus and we'll be spending time with you the whole way.
We would.
And yeah. Well, the Golden Age, we were talking about the poem by the Roman poet Virgil, who was in the 1st century BC, a contemporary with Julius Caesar and then Caesar Augustus, Octavian. And he wrote around the year 40 BC a poem, and I'll just read the money quotes because it's long enough and a lot of it's not relevant here. Now the last age by Cumae's Sibyl sung has come and gone. Now the Cumaean Sibyl, very important to the Roman foundation myth, okay, the foundation story. she was considered to be a prophet. In fact, when Michelangelo painted the Sistine Chapel, the Sibyls, the Cumaean Sibyl is there along with some of the other Sibyls, alongside prophets like Jeremiah and Ezekiel and Daniel and Isaiah, which
okay. I know, it's very mixed.
Yeah, it's a very Roman thing. Anyway, the last age by Cumae's Sibyl sung has come and gone, and the majestic roll of circling centuries begins anew. Justice returns old Saturn's reign with a new breed of men sent down from heaven. Only do thou, at the boy's birth in whom the iron shall cease, the golden race arise. In other words, end of the Iron Age, return of a new golden age. Befriend him, chaste Lucina, that's the moon goddess. 'Tis thine own Apollo reigns. And then it goes on. He basically is flattering the consul of Rome, Gaius Asinius Pollio, who that's like the president of Rome, the highest elected official. And he's basically saying, because you're so wonderful, Pollio, when you come into office, a new golden age will begin. And this poem, as Tom Horn wrote in Apollyon Rising 2012 and Zenith 2016, seems to suggest a return of an entity from the netherworld to bring a golden age. And this is what the occult adepts and New Agers are looking for.
Retroactively, there were some Christians who looked at this and said that that was predicting the age of Christ.
Yes.
That he was the boy who would be born. I think that was just horrific to say that he was Apollo reborn, that he was representing the old God's return. No.
This dates back to, and there were a number of Christians, or at least nominal Christians, who believed that even though Virgil was a pagan, that he was being given a vision of the coming Jesus Christ. Constantine, for example, the Emperor Constantine, who legalized Christianity, was one of the first major figures in Christendom to interpret Eclogue 4 this way. He was, one of his major spiritual advisors was the Christian theologian Lactantius. And Lactantius also subscribed to this idea. Now, Lactantius was a brilliant man, got a lot of things right, but I'm sorry, just with a new breed of men sent down from heaven, I mean, we saw that in the pre-flood world. Those were the Watchers, and the new breed of men were the Nephilim.
No, and think of that vision of the statue. The final phase was not the iron. The final phase were the toes.
Right.
That were iron mixed with miry clay.
Exactly.
This is the very thing that happened pre-flood.
Exactly. So, yes, iron does not turn back to gold. It turns to iron and miry clay, and that leads to the return, the actual return.
The real golden age, when the Lord comes back and reigns from Jerusalem.
Correct.
Now, many of us, also refer to times that we thought were great. I've heard many say, the golden age for me was when I was a child and we watched, very simple television shows like Father Knows Best, and I loved Fury and Wagon Train, and you and I just recently started watching a show called Yancey Derringer, which had one season, but it was what I loved about it, and I told Derek this when I was a child, the television shows for the most part were very simple. It was good versus evil. White hat versus black hat, if you want to put it that way. But Yancey Derringer represented someone who was giving to friends, had a circle of friends that he always defended, and he stood up for the little guy.
Right, yep.
And Superman was another show that was on. It was this idea of really caring. Love your neighbor as yourself.
Yep.
That was something we were taught through television as children.
And that was one of the wonderful things about Tolkien's Lord of the Rings books, and the way that they were transferred to film, adapted for film by Peter Jackson. You had that sacrificial love where Frodo and Samwise were willing to go into Mount Doom, knowing that they would never come back, even though they did, but believing that they wouldn't come back.
Yes.
And how Aragorn was willing to lead the men of the West in a diversionary action that they knew was a
they would probably all die.
Yeah. And that's not the kind of thing that we see in coming from Hollywood the last few years. Now, that may be changing, because I think Hollywood sees the writing on the wall
Yeah.
that people are no longer interested in this sort of anti-hero and
No, we want
moral
real
relativism.
heroes now.
Yes.
You mentioned The Lord of the Rings. If you've ever read the Silmarillion, you know he mentions the Golden Age.
Yeah.
It's Arda, the original earth, the original idea of creation. And it was an unspoiled, unsullied Arda. But after sin, which is represented with the theft of the Silmarillion, the Silmarils, after sin entered, then everything was changed. We live in a world that it's fallen.
Corrupted
even the earth itself groans.
Yeah. Corrupted by sin, but also corrupted by the sin of the fallen angels.
Yes.
Genesis 3, Genesis 6, and Genesis 11.
Yeah.
The Tower of Babel incident. You've got fallen angels who've helped to corrupt the world, which is why...
If that's where viruses come from.
Yeah, could well be. And that's why God himself, in the form of the Messiah, needs to return in order to correct it. One other thing, because we teased this early on, there were some who were very upset or concerned anyway.
We can actually do another program and really dig into what you're about to say, but go ahead and tease it.
Well, yeah, the fact that President Trump did not put his hand on the Bible, I think, I think, well, it's a very simple explanation. They were already slightly past noon, and the Constitution says he's got to be sworn in by noon. So Justice Roberts began swearing it in, and Melania was not there with the Trump family Bible and the Abraham Lincoln Bible.
Which is what he wanted to use.
Right. And by the time she got there, they were already in the middle of the oath, and he just didn't notice it and didn't put his hand on it.
Yeah.
But look, putting your hand on the Bible is not a predictor of future performance, because most of our recent presidents have, in fact, put their hands on the Bible. Did that have any
other books?
Or other books. But, did that really affect the way that they performed their oath of office?
No.
No. It's let your yes mean yes, let your no mean no, as Jesus said. And so we'll see over the next 4 years whether President Trump means what he says. I tend to think that he does.
I do too. I really do. I believe that the Lord is using President Trump. And Franklin Graham is on record as saying he believes that after the assassination attempt that Trump grew closer to the Lord. And he seems to think that Trump has a genuine relationship.
Well, yeah. Having a bullet come that close to your head would certainly focus things for you in a real hurry.
It would, and we're going to talk more about that moment in the next program, as well as other things we see happening in 2025.
Yeah, it's going to be a very interesting year for a lot of reasons, and we are thankful that you are along with us for the ride. We're happy to be back producing these programs. We appreciate your prayers and support, and we thank you for watching. This is Unraveling Revelation.
Unraveling Revelation is a viewer-supported outreach of Gilbert House Ministries. Follow us online at unravelingrevelation.tv and gilberthouse.org. That's where you'll find our weekly Bible study, the Gilbert House Fellowship. We'd love to hear from you. Contact us through our websites or drop us a line at P.O. Box 78, Crane, Missouri 65633.